What's up, everybody? Today we have Claudia Cromley and Jaren Hodgson. They're both actors who've starred in plays like She Loves Me, Sweeny Todd, and they just got out of A Skin of Our Teeth, which were all on Playhouse Square. Guys, welcome. Welcome to Crash Mode.
So nice to be here. Very excited.
Thanks for the beer.
Of course, your own beer, of course. You left it here. So, it was your last college show. How are we feeling, guys? A lot of emotions running?
I'll admit I was a very teary-eyed mess yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. I think it wasn't, because the show itself was fabulous, but I think more so it hit me that, like, I'm done. Mm-hmm. And I'm done with, like, collegiate theater. But I think that the exciting part is that we do have things lined up. So, very sad, but, like, excited for the future.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Sitting in just walking around the catacombs underneath the Allen complex here at Playhouse Square, there were moments where I'd have memories of the different productions I had done in my 4 years and be like, wow, that went by fast. And the unknown of, well, now I got to do this to make money. Sitting in an educational field it's very comforting. Mm-hmm. Doing it educationally because there is that safety blanket in the structure of college, but once you're out, it's do or die. Mm-hmm.
Now you're professionals.
I guess.
Aspiring professionals.
I'll call myself a professional when I'm part of AEA. That's when I'll call myself a true professional. When you get your equity card. When I get my card is when I'll say I'm a true professional. But I think it is monumentous that we both have immediate work lined up. We start rehearsals on Tuesday.
Yeah, you guys are literally going in from one show, like a day break, maybe, but right into the next one. Mm-hmm.
But I think that's the comforting aspect of it, is that...
It would have been worse if we didn't have that ready to go.
Yeah.
For me, personally, if I didn't have that, I would have been way worse on it.
Yeah, like Jaren said, it's comforting being in collegiate theater because you know, like, who you're, like, working with, who you might be, you know, competing against, like, all these things that, you know, in the professional world, you don't have that.
I guess yes, but also, like, once you make, like, connections with, like, directors and
For
stuff.
sure. But I think it's, like...
I don't know.
It's just, it's nice, too, because I've had a great career in collegiate theater, and it's a little nerve-wracking to be, like, leaving that, like, safety nest of, you know, things that I've done and, like, expectations for myself as an artist and, like, what I expect from myself after leaving with Mrs. Love in Sweeny Todd and Amalia and She Loves Me. Like, it's hard as an artist not to, like, judge yourself in your own work. So that's another thing that I struggle with. But leaving with work is something that's super duper exciting.
Yeah, and to talk about how leaving with Love and Amalia, it is scary to know the fact that when you're seniors or you're older, you have more experience, you get larger roles typically. And to go from, I mean, I just played Antrobus in Skin of Our Teeth to, man, I hope I get a callback for ensemble is a scary idea, but you gotta.
But it's also exciting too, because like getting to experience things that are outside of your collegiate like nest, zone. your nest and your safety zone. Like, I'm excited to experience these new things and different shows that I might not have been able to do in a collegiate area.
Well, yeah, it's like every artist, they want their next thing to be better than what they made before, and now you guys are leaving somewhere that everybody knew who you were to go into like the swarm of people where there's a million people going for one role. It must be very nerve-wracking.
It is, and it is. I mean, personally, I look at it as, I mean, when I'm not doing collegiate theater over the summers, I would do as much local paid professional theater that I could. And I think it's accepting that you won't get everything
that
makes it easier. That maybe I didn't get this role, or maybe I got ensemble or a role I didn't expect myself to get, but acknowledging that there is learning to forever be done within this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is really cool to me.
I think for me, it's sad to leave college, and it's sad to leave it with a year that we didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that it's more exciting to have the aspect of learning in different areas and learning in new places and experiencing different things with new people and learning
Different ways of working.
Yeah, because there's so many different aspects of theater. We got one little tiny slice of it in college.
Mm-hmm. With the same
With
20 people.
Yes, who are fabulous, but it's exciting to be able to like branch out and meet new people and expand that knowledge tenfold.
Yes.
Well, now even like if you get an ensemble role, but like the director still likes you, they'll know you, and then you can maybe get another thing from working with them.
Oh, for sure. I mean, connections are everything.
I mean, at the end of the
theater.
day, the work is the work. Mm-hmm. Whether you're ensemble or you're the lead, you are doing your work.
There's no small part.
Which is very cliche to say. What is it? Small. There aren't small parts. There's small actors.
Yeah, there's no small parts. There's small actors, and I think that's such a
like. There is always learning to be done in this field, whether it's ensemble work or learning about what's going on backstage, fight choreography, dance, dialects, history. Like, there's always something to be learned, and closing yourself off on roles or opportunities because it's not the big thing is not stupid, because you'll learn something.
Yeah.
Every time.
So, like, preparing for roles, I just want to know how you guys, like, it's because actors is such a strange, like, thing. It's you're literally putting yourself inside
We're a strange
someone else's
breed.
body.
Yeah.
And, like, how do you guys get into the mindset of that?
You're probably going to say the same thing I am, but the what if of a character, the oh my god, I sound like Holly, but the given circumstances of the character, the breadth of a character, you're not putting on. There's a great analogy that Holly goes back to, who is our acting professor. That is, you're not putting on a coat. You're not putting on a coat. You're consuming the circumstances and putting yourself in a place that is, what if I was a 45-year-old man? How would I move through a space? How would I react to what my daughter just told me? Of course, life experience goes into that, but it doesn't take over.
Yeah.
In a way. I mean, that's what I come back to. But you can shed some light on that.
I mean, I agree. I think, like, the what if and anything Stanislavski or Chekhov has, like, been hugely impactful for me as an artist. But I feel like my process depends on the character because, like, it's hard because when you're for actors, it's hard to separate the artist from the work, especially for me, because I take, the role that I'm given and I apply it to things that I've experienced to make it more truthful for me.
Yeah.
So, like, for Amalia, I was going through a hefty breakup at the time. That role was all about love and what happens if he doesn't like me and, like, all these things. And Love It was a different monster because that is, like, someone who, like, is just so far-fetched from reality but has these humanity aspects to her. So, it was really hard to connect to that character for a long time for me. But I think that, like, using the sheer aspect of, like, if I was this person, what would I do? Which is the what if question that Stanislavski poses. It makes it more truthful, and it makes it more real for those who are watching. Yeah. Because theater is an experience, and it's wonderful for the actor, but you do it for an audience, and you do it to impose learning, and you do it to change ideas and to have these like conversations that otherwise might not be able to happen in real life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's just so much vulnerability for an actor or a performer to lay at your feet in a way that I believe other art forms can't really get behind, because that is what true humanity is, and that is what creates a true, beautiful piece of work. And how you said change to ask questions, because I could look at you right now, ask you questions, or tell you this is fact, but without that humanity and vulnerability of it, you're not going to listen to shit.
Well, it's and too, I think like part of that too is like when you talk about the actor and separating the actor from the work, it's hard for artists because it's so vulnerable.
Yes.
Because you are the art. You're going on stage and you're presenting it. It's not like you know, if I wrote an essay and gave it to a teacher, like she might be judging my grammar or whatever. But on stage, an audience is directly witnessing how I myself am taking this role.
It's different than a normal 9 to 5, because when you go home, usually, or you when you're at home, you're at home. Mm-hmm. When I leave the rehearsal space, as much as you leave the rehearsal space, you are taking that with you. Mm-hmm. And you are carrying that with you. And it does become part of your life. It does become part of your thought, the way you think, the way you brush your teeth, the way you take a shower. You think about it. Or things you've never thought of a certain way before. Once you start working, you start personally thinking about what would this character do, or I don't want to say triggers, but things that are related to the work will come up and be like, oh, I never thought of it that way.
Oh yeah. And that's the fun thing about it too, is that you can literally perceive something that you might not have perceived that ever in your life, but
Yes.
because you're taking on a specific project or a specific character or whatever it is, you see things in a different point of view. And I think that's what's so beautiful about theater.
There's also a cool thing with taking inspiration from others that I think is also beautiful. Maybe you haven't lived a life experience, but you have a good friend that lived a life experience, or a partner, or a family member, and sometimes personally, that allows you to understand them more. I mean, when I approached Antrobus, I did take a lot of inspiration from my own father, and his relationship with me and my sister and my mother and the family, and it kind of deepened my appreciation to my father and what he's done for our family, playing that kind of character.
Mm-hmm. And going back to what you said, Claudia, the like little things that just pop into your head. Like, were you guys like? Has anybody told you about like the muse? What the muse is?
As far as like my own personal muse, or like
getting inspiration for a role. Like, so the muse, it goes back to ancient Greek. It's like there's little idea bubbles floating around you, and you have to like. If you're a writer, you have to sit down and write. And even if you're writing gibberish, the muse will get that idea and bring it to you. You just have to give it time.
Oh, for sure. And like, and that's what I think. I don't know. It's weird because a lot of the things that I do, in theater, with its whether it's roles, whether it's whatever, I have like, you know, of this like this moment where I have to, before I go on stage, I step into the physical shoes of the character. Mm-hmm. Like I have a moment where I close my eyes, I step into their shoes, and I feel how my stance changes, how my mind changes, how my eyes shift. Like these small little things, but it's like that inspiration that kind of hits you, and it comes from that mind, or that little hint or sparkle that might be, you know, swirling around. Mm-hmm. And like that muse idea that comes from ancient Greek, it ties in with today with like, you know, guardian angels and like all these things. But I think it's cool to have, whether you believe in whatever or not, like having a spark of something, and like when that spark hits, so many different channels of communication, so many ideas can flow. And I think that happens for like me as an actor, but also an audience, when you're doing that and you're experiencing something that is happening on stage and then suddenly it hits. And like that's what's so exciting, is like once that hits and that spark hits and that, you know, that fire is flamed, like so many different ideas or thoughts or, you know, conversations can happen that might not have been able to happen before.
And you're talking when approaching a role?
Yeah. Or just anything.
When approaching a role, every role is different.
That is true. Every role is different.
Every role is so different. It depends on the concept. It depends on the meat of what this character is and means.
I also think it depends on the type of show. Like
is
it a musical? Is it realism? Is it abstract? Is it, you know?
Is it fantasy? Is it
What year?
drama? What year?
What year it is.
Period. Yeah, 100%.
Because that will affect how your character acts in that time.
Because say I'm doing a show that happened 50 years ago, I'm gonna have to do some research.
Yeah.
But if I do a show that's based in today, I'm not really gonna have to do the research.
Because you have your own life
because
experiences.
I have my own life experiences. I mean, yeah, I think 100% musical to play, the approach is 100% different for me.
It's so different for me. Like, in terms of musicals, like, I feel like musicals are a different beast. Plays, it's nice because I can, like, see the script and I can see what's being said and I can analyze. But music in a show has so many different meanings and so many different things that you can take out of it. And it also is it's different depending on, like, how you sing it.
Yeah.
Is the character, you know, singing and acting through song in a way that's, like, true for them, true for the character? Does it hit the audience in a specific way? Does the melody and the undertones and the, like, antithesis of the notes hit them? Like, is it, I don't know. It's really, musicals are more fun for me in that way. Not only are they more fun for me as a performer, but I think they're more interesting because I'm very music oriented, and finding that, like, underlying melody and what that means is super cool for me.
I'd agree and disagree with that. Personally, I love musicals more than anyone else, but I just find the older I get, the more meat there is in plays for me as a performer.
That's fair.
Because it's just the idea of holding, I mean, I guess it's so objective, but the idea of holding Shrek the Musical next to Angels in America.
Well, that's like two different.
It is, but like at the same
beasts.
time, it feels like the modern musical is just so.
I think that's a whole nother topic of conversation that we could expand upon.
It is a whole nother topic.
But like,
also, with musicals, like, as an audience member for a musical, you can interpret music so many different types of ways.
Yes.
And sometimes you don't pick up on everything, and you don't get it
Yes.
until, like,
Sondheim
2 days later.
specifically,
Which is another
Sondheim.
reason I do like musicals, is because I do feel like there is a little more leeway.
But with plays, like, when they say the line, you know exactly what they mean, and there's a lot less.
I don't know, because like with the skin of our
interpretation.
teeth, when they did that, there were things that they would like. There were analogies that you wouldn't understand until until the show was over, and then you thought about it, and you're like, oh, okay. And so like I don't know. I feel like
The Skin of Our Teeth is also a very specific example.
Yeah, that's
Well,
much
but I
more
get
of
what
an
he's saying.
abstract.
I 100% get what
but
you're
there's
saying.
analogies and like meanings in every show.
Yeah.
Because
I 100%
I
agree.
think with like musicals, I like it because I am a very like math logical brain, and music is math. Like that's how I work. And even though I'm a very emotional person and I act from an emotional place, I like the specificity of music and how specific things can affect people's brains.
Yeah.
Whereas in plays, lines are very like, okay, this is the line, this is how you say it, or this is what you say, blah, blah. How you say it can interpret a whole nother thing of meaning. Like, you can say so many different lines in any show, whether it's, something as specific as Skin of Our Teeth or Blithe Spirit or something that we've done. Like, you can say something and it means something completely different based off of the emphasis.
I attached my resume to this. Do you want my resume?
Okay.
But yeah, so I think
my
both are
website.
very good arguments.
Go on my website.
JarenHodgson.com.
Yeah, we'll link our websites in the description or whatever.
But like as you guys were saying, like the relationship between audience member and like actor is the most connected you can ever be in any medium because you're staring at them for 2 hours because they don't have a break.
Yes.
Like everything else, even this podcast, it's edited. Like movies are edited, but with plays and musicals, it's 2-3 hours straight of just
I think that's why I like it so much.
themselves. Yeah.
Because I'm also a communications major, or I was a major, I dropped to a minor. Whatever. Specificity. But my personal part of like my communications major was nonverbal communication. Because there's so many things that people do with their physical bodies or how they say things that go far beyond what we say like in our normal everyday language. Communication is only 7% words. Everything else, that other 93%, is how we say it, our body's movement, our breathing, all these things. And I pertain that so much to theater. And
Holly just talked about that
yeah,
in class.
Well, that's what
when I was TAing.
And I find that so interesting from like a brain that is like very like, I'm very empathetic. So like if someone says something to me, I overanalyze and I overanalyze and I overanalyze. But I think that's because I'm also an artist and because you can, and because I'm what? And because I have anxiety. But I think it's so interesting, that connection with the audience. And even though it's a small point in time, that like 2 hour span that you have got, so much can be said that is wordless, that is universally understood.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of it.
I agree. I would have to 100% agree.
I would just love to see a musical or a play in a different language.
I know,
think that would
because
be
that's
so-
the thing.
You'll understand. You'll understand completely.
And our like main our Holly is like the head of our department. We were talking the other day and she was like, well, I'm going to South Korea to do a movement piece, which is like dance, but like not as dance. It's not like your typical dance. It's just movement on stage expressing a story. And she was like, I'm going to South Korea to do this. And even though the person I'm working with and I speak completely different languages, I know that we will understand each other because of the movement we make. And I think that that's so interesting because we can have these conversations with people. We can have these amazing moments with people, even though we would literally never understand each other
Which comes
with
back
words.
to the humanity of theater.
Yeah.
Similar to silent films, where like you don't hear what they're saying at all, but you understand by their face or
emotion.
the
emotion. It's deeply like the language. It's just
its own
language
language.
is just a barrier.
You understand, I like that. Language is a barrier because if I looked at someone, I could see if they're happy or sad. Or I could understand if they're tired based on how their body is or how they're sitting, how their shoulders are slumped.
It's very interesting how the human brain works and we can create works of art without even opening our mouths.
So these are two questions, but I'll ask them separately. So, how do you think technology is advancing at a hyper accelerated speed, and how do you think that technology is helping with theater?
Oh, that's a really interesting question.
This is a really good question for me.
I'll let Jaren go first.
Okay, so not only am I acting
Wait, if we are holding, can I please use the restroom?
I have to piss too.
I need to pee so
All right, we're
bad.
taking a quick break.
Okay.
We have to take a quick piss break?
So how do you think the advancing technology is going to help musical theater and plays, because now, like, in the olden days, it was just amphitheaters, no lights. They had to do it during the day, but now we have lights, we have microphones, we now have projectors, we have all these things that have helped the storytelling aspect.
Yes. Great. So
That's the answer. It's great now. It's great.
Yes.
advancing technology, it's funny how theater gets technology because we get it later than everyone else. LEDs have been out for years, decades, probably a decade. Mm-hmm. And theaters are just now getting some. Not only because they're super expensive, but because the technology, because lighting in the theater works different than lighting your home, right? And I think it's a great thing environmentally, and control over talking lighting, control over visuals. I have a huge soft spot for projections in theater, but I also am really mean about them because it is elevated storytelling phenomenally, but also I believe is used as a scapegoat to cover up the lack of effort. I see too many truck and bus shows come through that are relying exclusively million dollar productions come through the houses here and are mainly done with projections. I think is awful.
You mean like a backdrop instead of using a projection?
They use projections for just about everything.
Like sets too? Like they'll project a building?
I don't want to hear I know what you're going to say is, it's to move it from place to place. They've been doing it before. Multi-million dollar production. I believe that you can't have a set with exclusively projections.
Get a semi.
They do. Projections are for elevating storytelling and elevating a pre-existing set. You can't just hang on it.
I agree to some point, but everyone knows that Broadway is a business. And when you're talking about musicals that travel, I think that, and I agree, I think that a lot of the art is lost when it's all based on projections because you can tell it's so hard.
I'm a projection designer.
I don't know. For me, I really like projections when they're used properly. Mm-hmm. I think that it is a good use of things to save money, so that way.
And I get it when community theaters and high schools do it.
For sure.
I get it.
But at the same time, like when Broadway is a business and you have to pay your actors, I can understand.
You have to pay your actors, you have to pay the director, you have to pay the instrumentalists. Especially with musicals.
Some things do get cut because they pay their actors well.
Which is great, but I also think that sets are such an important part of visual storytelling, and losing some of that,
I do agree.
Loses environment.
And there's such a connection with just there's a connection between a physical object that you don't get with just like a bedroom that's a projection, you know?
Yeah.
I think that there is a good way to use projections and a bad way.
And we've seen great ways of doing it. And I've seen bad ways of doing it.
Yeah.
It's any medium. I've seen bad actors, I've seen great actors, I've seen bad costume, I've seen great costume. But I mean, to get back to your original question, the advances of technology will continue to advance storytelling, but it'll be a little later than everyone else.
Yeah, theater unfortunately gets things later. I think it has to do with money, but you also have to consider like the
tradition.
Well, kind of. I mean. For some people, it's really hard because like art and theater and storytelling is very much in the eye of the beholder. Mm-hmm. And so although you can make wonderful things and tell these amazing stories because you're in front of an audience, the audience is also the worst critic. Yourself is the worst critic, you know, because it's so personal.
Yeah.
And when people pay money to see shows, and they are disappointed by an aspect of technology or an actor or costuming, whatever, it is known through reviews and things like that. And it's more personal because it is a personal art.
Yep.
But like technology, I think it's really cool that we have more aspects of it than we did before. Especially when you get into things like color theory and like what colors on stage and what lights projected make meaning for an audience member that they might not realize in that moment. You know, what enhances the story, what detracts from a story. And it also evolves with the time. So like in the time where it was oil lamps and set with a chair and pole system, like it was awesome for an audience because that's what they had. So technology grows in theater with the times. So I think that like 30 years from now, we'll see advancements that we would not have even expected. Mm-hmm. But in that time, it will be for that audience too. So I don't know. It's an interesting thought process, I guess.
So this is kind of piggybacks off the last question, but so in say like 100, 200 years, what role do you think acting and being on stage will play in humanity?
That's really interesting.
It will be humanity. It will be humanity.
Kind of gave me goosebumps.
Because
Deep.
No, deep. We are moving into a world that is very digital, very based in AI, augmented reality, VR.
So many things.
We are losing connectivity between human beings through that little square you have in your pocket. You text, you call, you create. I watch TikToks of Joe Biden and Barack Obama playing Minecraft together. That sounds so realistic. It's kind of scary.
Yes.
At the end of the day, theater thrives on its ability to be so vulnerable and human that in 150 years, I hope to God not, but that will be the core connectivity to humanity.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too because when you look back on theater history and how it's progressed over the years, it restarts and restarts and rebuilds basically the same way every time. When civilizations fall and power is shifted to a new entity, it rebuilds in the same way. It's scary. So I think that like when you're thinking about how our world will be like not really that far into the future, it's kind of, it's scary, but it's kind of exciting to see like how theater would evolve and how it would take on a new role in society, and not so much like from an entertainment aspect like Big Broadway is, but maybe as like Jaren said, this like connection to humanity that you might not get anywhere else, which is super crazy to me, but
it is true.
It's very true.
I was thinking the same exact thing
because
when I was writing the question.
Because, like you said, historically, theater always revolves, but it always revolves around the same principles. Always. And those principles will still be true in 150 years. And regardless of if we are going to work with, robots, which we are, but regardless...
Robot on stage? Acting with a robot?
Nope, I wouldn't do it. That is exactly the opposite of what theater is to me.
What if it's playing a robot character? What if the role is robot and it has to fill
the robot plays robot.
That's some experimental shit, man.
Like a Star Wars musical with R2 and...
But the thing is
you
Star Wars...
actually travel through space and everything.
But you say Star Wars. The thing about Star Wars is those robotic characters in the original Star Wars are human. Mm-hmm. Because of those actors that bring the humanity to those roles. R2-D2 exclusively beeps. But that character feels very real. Mm-hmm. That I don't think we could replicate otherwise.
Yeah.
Does BB-8 feel less real than R2 because BB-8 is just all CG, you think?
Fuck that guy.
Jeez. Christ.
No,
But in a way, I think you're right. Because for me, like, I love, having movies and stuff that have CGI. Because it's cool to see how technology evolves.
I'm fine
and,
with
like,
CGI.
But it's interesting to pose the question of, like, when you're looking at a thing like Star Wars that is, like, huge and, like, it spans several years in production, like, do you feel a different connection to those like different roles because they were made in different ways, and like what effect it has, like if it's played by a human in a costume or augmented reality or CGI or whatever you want to call it?
I'm fine with CGI if the heart and soul of that CGI being is played by a human.
Well, yeah, is can you get that without a human being playing it?
No.
That's like how we were talking about like like technology and like how once it advances, like does that ruin your theater experience once it becomes like past a point, like how with Star Wars they started using CGI, the technology advanced, and now it ruined your impression of this droid because it's not a real thing when they use that in theater. I mean, it's kind of...
And I think that's an interesting
And that
point
kind of
to
ties
make
to
with
the projections.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, but also like a theater 100 years from now, it's either going to be we have theater and it's our only connection to reality, or theater does not exist because it's all CGI and virtual
if theater
reality.
doesn't exist, humanity doesn't exist. You look at humans and the history of human beings.
Everything was founded on
always
theater.
Been there.
Every single civilization has had some form of theater.
Whether you call it storytelling around a campfire.
Yes, exactly. Or interpretive dance by the fire. Like,
interpretive dance.
It's all theater.
Music. It's...
And every age that theater has re-evolved, it usually surrounds this idea of rebuilding a society.
Mm-hmm.
So like ancient Greeks to the Romans, to then the fall, into medieval times, into the Black Plague, into, Spanish Inquisition, and then beyond and beyond and beyond. Like this idea of like rebuild and reset, and I don't know. It's really interesting to think of that in terms of like where we will be 100 years from now and how theater will evolve based on where we will be. If it's a civilization that has crumbled, or
And it will evolve.
Yeah.
But it'll always hold on to
even if the civilization crumbles, we still will have theater in some way, shape, or form. Yeah.
Or theater will restart, That's interesting to think about.
All right, so last theater question, just 5 years, speak your dream role into existence.
Like 5 years from now?
We're coming back to this and we're going to clip it. What role are you playing? You can be like, I remember 5 years ago when on Crash the Mode I said I was going to be this role. Now look at here we are.
Oh, that's hard. I think 5 years from now, I think if I'm anywhere on Broadway, I will be happy.
Yeah.
But like for me, I want to play Elle Woods again, because last time I played Elle Woods, it was like rink-a-dink, like I was too young for the role. And now I feel like I have so many experiences that I do want to play that character again. That has a lot of depth despite what Jarrett thinks.
I think Elle Woods does have a lot of depth. I just am not fond of the musical.
But yeah, I think anywhere on Broadway, but like if I were to play that or
Role.
like, jeez, Trina and falsettos.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be such a good role. I'd love to play Trina and falsettos.
When they do the Moana musical, I'd love to play Tamatoa, the crab.
I like it.
I don't know if that's my dream, but I'm just throwing it out there.
What else? Come on, we need one. One real one. That's an actual play or musical.
I don't know. My dream role is to be happy. I don't know. My dream role is to be
How about Beast?
financially comfortable.
If you were Beast on Broadway.
I'd be happy, but
You don't need a dream role. You just want to make sure that what you do for the rest of your life involves theater.
Yeah, you know what? That's my dream role.
good
Is to
answer.
have a family and kids and be comfortable with the art I'm creating and feel like I'm making a difference. That's
feel
my
like
dream role.
conversations can be happening.
Where you can have conversations. Like I don't need to be a star on Broadway. I need to have conversations. I need art to be created, meaningful art that speaks to an audience, and I want a family. That's my dream role.
That's a great answer.
That's
just kind of shut me down and made me feel like an asshole.
I mean,
Or the crab.
the crab and Moana would love to play.
Just say that and make me look better. Jesus.
Bobby and company would like to do that. I don't know.
I think that like Broadway is a.
Sweeny Todd. I'd like to play Sweeny Todd.
I think like Broadway is like an aspiration for me, like in my inner child. Like I just to fulfill that, I would like to be on Broadway. But in reality, I think the most important thing is like to continue to learn, because like my brain is always trying to like reanalyze. And,
Oh, this is you trying to make yourself sound better about saying Elwoods, right?
maybe. But in the reality of it is like, no, come on.
I'm just messing.
But I think that like as long as I'm doing theater and I'm learning and I'm like I mean this is
Being posed with challenge.
this is based in truth. Is eventually I would like to open my own nonprofit that teaches kids theater in less like in inner city areas, like as an after school program that who like maybe parents can't pay for after school care. It's a free program that students and kids can come and learn theater at no cost, because it was so impactful to me as a young kid. And the conversations that can be held, like we've said before, I think it can impact generations. So eventually that's where I want to be also, is open my own nonprofit.
That'd be
I
great.
love that, yeah. And not even just the conversations, but the friendships that evolve from
The bond,
theater. Yes.
like the bond that you make with people. Like, yeah, it's just...
You might create some Broadway stars of your own, so.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
These testes are brewing Broadway stars.
Ew.
Oh my god.
You can cut that.
I'm not gonna.
Or make it on a TikTok. It'll get 100 likes.
So changing gears a little bit, Claudia, you went viral on TikTok.
Oh my
because
God.
a man fell out of your window.
How does this have to do with me?
Right
I'm
in front
also
of your
on the
window.
show.
Sucks to suck. I'm the TikTok star here.
Oh.
A man fell from your window.
You
Right
also went to
in front of it.
Iceland.
All right. Well, okay. So first of all, yes, I did get TikTok famous. My one video blew up to like 26 million views, and it was like plastered on every Instagram account. Reddit. It was
Yo,
like
you
a
made it to
top thing
Reddit.
on Reddit for like a second. And this man fell from the floor above me onto the roof, because I have like a window with a roof. I'm on the second floor, and then the door like is underneath there. He fell there. We had a nice chat. I posted it to TikTok. Got so many views, like obscenely amounts. That was like not even worth like. And I had a lot of people asking me about Window Man. He's a great guy.
Window Man.
Window Man is a great guy.
What's his actual name?
I won't say it here, but he's a great guy, and he's really nice. They were really trying to get me and Window Man together, but Window Man
They were
is not.
shipping you and Window Man?
Yes.
I don't know if I'd date somebody who fell onto my roof.
Yeah. This
From heaven.
It was a gift from
Rain
God.
and Men. It's Rain and Men. Hallelujah.
Was he drunk? Was Window Man
Oh, yeah.
inebriated?
Very drunk.
I would hope.
I mean, yeah.
Like,
I would
He
hope.
fell and then just like laid there for like 10 seconds before I decided to start recording. And then he came back a few times, like during the party, and like knocked on my window. And then
my
the next
gosh.
day he came back, and then he bought me coffee and apologized, and it was very sweet.
At least he apologized.
What?
At least he apologized.
No, he apologized, and he was so nice about it. And we still like chat every now and then, but yeah, that was crazy. Crazy time in my literally beginning of senior year.
Yeah.
Forgot to bring this up earlier, but I did want to say this podcast is being filmed during a full moon. So,
Oh shit.
yes. Any superstition. It is. Alright, so I have like two more things. So I saw on Twitter, it was a graph, and in the x-axis was like all the visible light, like all the light rays, and then the y-axis was all the sound,
Okay.
all the sounds you could hear. and the amount that humans could hear was literally like a sliver this big on the giant graph. And so it just was like making me think, like, what are, like, there's so many things we can't see. Like, on that graph, there's so much light, there's so much sound we can't hear. But, like, there's so many other things, like smell. What smells can't we smell, you know? Like, just humans are existing at, like, such a little itty-bitty part of the universe.
No?
You smell that? I smell something.
Good.
But
Here.
But we are, and it's like weird to think about what all we're missing out on just because of our 5 or 6 senses that we can't see around
We were
us.
literally just talking about the brain, the human brain, and how much we like don't
Have it
use.
unlocked.
Like, what happens if like part of that brain is like unlocked, and then we like
I might have
see
a
the
new
world
favorite
like
color.
completely?
I
Yeah.
might have a new favorite color.
Well, and it's kind of like how
Ducks
dogs
can see
and
22 colors.
Who?
22 ducks.
How
Ducks
many can we
see
see?
Like a
7.
million?
We can see 7 colors.
Oh.
well, 7
Roy
colors
G.
that
Biv?
mix. Yeah.
Yeah, but
What-
ducks
so
can
what
see
is-
22 vastly different colors. Like,
That's
what the
interesting.
fuck? Why do they need all those colors? Why can't we have them?
Yeah.
Like,
fuck
we
the
can,
ducks,
it's
man.
just weird that we can't
Fuck
even
them
process
ducks.
that.
Oh,
Like,
to be a duck.
like, we wouldn't even be able to process that color if it was presented in front of us.
Oh no!
Like,
Like, there might be a color like right here.
the only way we would be able to see it is if we were a duck ourselves.
So are we becoming ducks?
Well, a gross fact about ducks is we learned this in
Corkscrew
middle school
penis.
science.
They're
The
wieners.
wieners are weird.
Their
Wait, does that
wieners
mean-
are corkscrewed.
Wieners are
yeah.
weird.
Okay, that's a new question.
Wait,
Would you
so-
let me ask you a question. Would you like to have a corkscrew penis?
Then you have to twist in
Does
there.
a girl duck have a cork for a vagina then?
Well,
No,
what,
like to have a
no,
corkscrew.
yeah. What happened was
They're holes
Vaginal,
like that.
vaginal
no, it's a
canal.
cork being...
They have to like screw the
Yeah.
duck like screws in.
what happened was the male ducks were raping the female ducks too
Oh my
much.
god!
And so the female ducks evolved a corkscrew vagina.
Yes?
And then the male ducks just had to evolve a corkscrew penis so it would fit into there. Nature's fucked up.
You didn't know that? I knew that.
That's why.
I didn't know that's why.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty fucked.
Oh, yeah.
We learned that
Animals are
freshman
fucked.
year. Freshman year of high school.
Animals are fucked,
Well,
man.
cats have spiky dicks,
Yeah, they do.
right? Isn't it cats that have spiky dicks?
Not
They do.
familiar with
They
the
have-
cat penis.
It's like a red rock and then they have little spikes at the end. You know what's even gross is echidnas have 7 dicks, bro.
What?
And
What
7
animal?
dicks.
Knuckles the
Echidnas.
echidna has 7 dicks.
Yeah, bro.
What animal is that?
It's like a little like, you know,
Rodent looking thing.
it's like a rodent, type of rodent. I don't know.
Does it use all 7 at once?
Yeah.
At once?
I don't know. You act like I like
Yeah,
Wait, so do the females have 7 holes?
maybe.
we're not sure about that.
And they're
We
just
know.
like-
7 holes.
It's like a puzzle piece.
It's like the like the string game where you have to like connect the like
It's an
red
ARV
string to like the
cable.
red. They have to like
Red,
get
yellow,
the right
white.
ones in.
Oh my gosh.
That's very funny.
Jesus.
Twister.
But yeah, and I think it's interesting that like dogs can hear higher like pitches than we can,
Mm-hmm.
and like I don't know. I think it's weird. I think it's wacky that like
Biology,
even though
bro.
we're the most like evolved.
Dolphins.
Well, exactly. Well, like dogs too. Humans evolved and our primary senses are eyeballs. Like that's what our brain's connected to. But with dogs, it's their nose.
That is
And
interesting.
so like their brain is completely wired different and they take everything in from smells. Like it's so weird.
When
Yeah,
we
that's
were
crazy.
when we were in high school, well no, not in high school. When we were in middle school, we would download the dog whistle app and then we'd be sitting in class and we'd have like an older teacher and we'd turn it up to like where they can't hear it but everybody in the room could, and we'd just be like fucking around and everyone would be looking around and the teacher would be like, "What? Like what's going on?"
That's so
my
funny.
Because like old people, I don't know what happens, but when you get older, you like the
you just
hertz
can't
or
hear as
whatever,
well,
you
yeah.
like you can't hear.
Yeah,
Like,
you drop like
I think it's like 700 or like
the decibels or
yeah,
whatever
like
the fuck it is.
1,000. But like once you get older, you can't hear past like 800 or something.
That's crazy.
I don't know. Don't fact check me on that.
Damn,
But
that is crazy. All right, so I got 2 more questions before we wrap this sucker up. And one is, so in 10,000 years, or I wrote 100,000, but just say 10,000 years. Both are very hard to wrap your head around. But if somebody finds this podcast in 10,000 years, what would you want them to know?
Oh. Oh.
Pee is stored in the balls.
That's a good one.
I don't know. Like 10,000 years?
10,000, can't even wrap your head around.
Put
That's such a big
crick
number.
in your neck.
Like, what was 10,000 years ago from today? Like, back from it.
What the fuck you mean?
No,
What was
like,
10,000?
no. Like, hear me out. Like, if
if we found something from 10,000 years ago, where would that be in the space and time continuum? Like, would that be like Ice Age?
8,000 BC.
Yeah, we had an ice age melting around like 10,000 BC. So like, yeah, ice age is melting.
Oh.
So
I
it's starting to
stand
get a
by
little
my
tropical and.
I stand by my
Okay,
answer.
so if there is a world and human society in 10,000 years, I would say,
Is Paul Rudd still alive?
yeah, that
A
completely
national
changes
treasure.
my answer. Is Paul Rudd still alive?
But just keep
This
his
time?
head.
He puts his head in a
That's
jar
kind of
like
hard.
Futurama.
I don't know.
I would say, we were horrible.
And we're sorry for what we
We
did
are
to this
so
planet.
sorry for what we did to this planet.
Not we, boomers.
Boomers. We didn't do shit.
It ain't
But
our
the
fault.
boomers,
I mean,
They fucked that shit up.
It's not like we're doing much better.
we're,
but, like-
no, but like at least we recognize.
Yeah, we use plastic. We use paper straws now.
Yeah, I only get the sippy things from Starbucks. I don't get them straws anymore.
No plastic straws up in here.
And I'm just a baby sipping.
All right.
I'm sorry. We're sorry.
Give a little bit more.
Racism
Put a
is
positive
really
spin
bad.
on this. No, put a positive spin on this when we're coming
No
to the
shit.
end.
No, I mean, if you think about it, like, we're currently still in, like, bad stuff with, like,
we
the
are.
world.
Oh yeah, I wonder
So,
how
like-
it is then.
Well, in that,
In 10,000 years, like,
animals are probably the same equal as us, so they think farms are like our
oh god, like
slaves.
zoos.
Like-
I'm so sorry for zoos.
I'm so sorry for zoos.
Holy shit.
Man, I'm
Okay,
so sorry.
wait.
Petting zoos.
Alexa, I'm so sorry I treated you like that. Like I
Yeah,
didn't mean to
Alexa,
call you a
please
bitch.
forgive
PetSmart, not our best
Siri,
idea.
my
Siri, I'm so sorry for how I treated you.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're alive and well 10,000 years from now, so
All right.
that's my answer.
Last question. Just, do you guys have any work coming up that you want people to see, that you want people to know
God.
about?
Are we allowed to talk about it? I don't know if we're allowed to talk about it yet.
When will this be released?
This week.
Well, we'll have a first
mean, first
rehearsal.
rehearsal
So, okay. So, we are currently going to be in The Bubbly Black Girl Sheds Her Chameleon Skin at Caramoo House. It is a musical written by Kristen Childs, all about like her experience as a young black woman in America and in different decades and racism and different things, police abuse. It's a really powerful show. And it's a really
It's fun,
interesting
though,
take,
but
but
it's
it's fun.
fun.
And I think that, like, you know, having like these conversations and this medium that we've talked about like on this podcast and like being in a show that like has these like out front ideas and like these things that, you know, this has happened, we need to do better, is really exciting. So we're going to be a part of that. And yeah, hopefully on to the next one after that. So
Woo! Great. I can't wait to come back here in a year, 2 years, and see what you all are up to.
Or 10,000.
yeah, who knows?
All right. Thank you all.
It was